that and pull it down into a smaller piece like this.
Oh, cool.
And then as I'm making the ornament, I'll tell you a little bit about my history and stuff. But the type of glass I'm working with this evening is called borosilicate glass. And how many people have heard of borosilicate glass? Very many people heard of it? Okay, maybe one or two. But anyway, one of the trade names of borosilicate glass is called Pyrex. So if your mother has ever, say, taken a corning dish and, put it from the freezer into a cold oven, then you've worked with some of the properties of the borosilicate glass. So it easily goes, tolerates a big change in temperature. Not directly onto the stove, but I'm going to stretch this out.
Oh, cool.
It's kind of fun. Don't we wish we could stretch our dollars that way? Speaking of dollars, some of my things only cost a few dollars. Like I made some candy corn necklaces. I thought you guys might enjoy something like that. So those are the candy corn necklaces are only $12, and the earrings are $20. And the earrings are sterling silver. So this is what we call glass blowing. So I'm just cooling down this part right here. It cools down pretty quickly because I pulled it much thinner. So that's a little bit cooler now. And then I'll also open that end. I've opened this end and I'll open this end down here so that I can actually blow through the piece. When you scratch glass, if anybody's ever done stained glass pieces, when you scratch the glass and apply pressure, you'll find that you can break the glass at that point and cut it to the way you want it to be. So now that I've opened up both ends of this tubing, I'm going to heat the tubing until it becomes solid. In scientific glass blowing, they call that a solidification. I don't know what we call it in artistic glass blowing. My initial hands-on class was a scientific glass blowing course. I did that at Purdue University. I'm blowing on the inside here to help change the inside diameter, and this will also be the hook on the ornament.
Oh.
So now it's solid right at the smallest point there. And I just keep turning. Very quickly the glass sets up, so it becomes solid, so now it's no longer moving. So the next part I do on the ornament is called the Maria. And I don't know why the Italians call it a Maria, but this is what they call it. So if I just slowly pull, and this time I don't blow into it, it turns into kind of like an hourglass shape. And as I'm pulling that, and you can see how it's changed. And feel free to get the glasses right up in front and pass those around. There's a couple pair that you can pass around. And yes, one of them has a crack where it's been dropped, but they still work. So, and you'll see the difference when I have a piece in the flame itself. So now you can see where that's changed. Can everybody in the back see okay? I hope that mirror works pretty good. Never worked with a mirror before. I'll be like blowing in reverse or something. I don't know.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I don't know how that looks. It should be kind of different. So I'm just straightening the edge just a little bit. Now the next part I'm going to do is the tail of the ornament. Yeah.
Sorry.
So actually, I'll probably start with an ornament and unheat it and then turn it back into a piece of tubing, right? If you put it in the mirror, no.
I like you. You have our sense of humor.
So now I'm going to blow into this just a tiny bit and pull it into the tail. You would think that I would actually do the middle part next and then the tail, but the way I was taught was that you did the tail first and then went back to this part. So it's a little bit unusual the way I work in that regard, but that's the way I learned. And after I'd had my apprenticeship, or after I'd had the one chemistry glass blowing course, I was lucky enough to get an apprenticeship in Florida. And with that apprenticeship, this is the style of ornament I learned how to make. We call this the Bohemian style of glass blowing because presumably, people from southern Germany or Czechoslovakia would teach it from person to person. And so it was just kind of handed down from person to person. In fact, when I wanted to blow glass in high school, I couldn't find anybody that would teach. I would find people working, but most people didn't want to teach. So I've probably been drawing and painting since about third grade, or at least that I remember. One of my third grade teachers told my parents I had a little bit of, promise. I think my sister could actually do better than I could, but anyway, so they got me extra lessons in drawing and painting. Perhaps that had a little bit of help. But in college, I went to IU, and I majored in ceramics and printmaking, only because there wasn't any glass there at the time. So when I graduated, then I found the chemistry glass blowing course. And I was also still doing figurative drawing, but I found that at Purdue. And then after that, I had the apprenticeship in Florida for 3 years. So I actually moved out of state in order to learn how to blow glass. I wanted to that badly. So it's a lot of fun to be able to work this way.
Excuse me, I am Slovak and we have Bohemian on the other side of the family, so I get dibs on this first. I'm calling dibs now, all right? And I have all kinds of Bohemian glass at home, so there.
Okay. That's fine, not a problem. Yeah, people usually want to get the one that I've made. But I also demo for free all the time in my studio too. And I am just barely an hour away from here, not even quite that. I was surprised that how quickly I got here. I thought it would take me an hour and a half, but it was.
Where do you live?
I'm in Lafayette,
Okay.
and
Awesome.
officially Shadeland, which is on the western part of Lafayette, so I'm right on 25. So if you come into Lafayette on 25, you've passed by my studio.
Do you have a sign out there?
Yeah, there's a big sign on the building itself. Of course, since I'm on the state highway, there's regulations as to what kind of signage I can put out. But if you know the Quilters Harvest Church, if you're coming into Lafayette, I'm just a little bit past that, maybe even a quarter of a mile. If you're coming from Lafayette, it's where you're supposed to slow down to 40 miles an hour. I'm at the second 40-mile-an-hour speed limit sign. So just at the top of the hill, so it's kind of hard for me to describe it the other way. But before there's Arnie's and Bedrock Liquors. You know, if you're coming from this way or coming from Danville, you'd see Arnie's Bedrock Liquors on the right-hand side, and then you'd see the old church and the fire station, and then eventually, on the left-hand side, you'd see mine if you're going into Lafayette.
How long have you been at that location?
We're starting our 10th year now.
Really? Okay, cool.
Yeah, so we're still new. People are still discovering where we're at and everything. And I think that happens a lot of times with newer places.
Is the quilt store closed?
Pardon?
Is the quilt store closed?
No, it's not closed, but it is for sale.
Oh, it is for sale.
It is for sale, so.
The other night when we came by, it was closed, and I saw the for sale sign.
Well,
So I thought maybe it was really closed.
Yeah, it's usually closed on Wednesdays, I think.
Yeah.
And I'm closed on an odd time, like Mondays. Sundays and Mondays I'm closed. Although, for the holidays, you'll normally see me open on Mondays, like after Thanksgiving, between Thanksgiving and Christmas. Then also, on some nights, or like on Thursday nights, I often have a continuing class, so I might be there late on Thursday nights. Or on Sundays, sometimes then once a month I'm there teaching a class. So if you see a bunch of cars and the lights on, feel free to come on in. I usually flip on the open sign, or sometimes my students will be there practicing. Because we have a facility of up to 8 students. Well, 8 to 12 students basically can all practice at once if they want to.
Oh, that's really wonderful.
So now I'm working on this ornament, and I'm melting all the colors in. So if you've got the glasses, be sure and look what it looks like without the glasses and with the glasses, because this makes a big difference right now. So you can really see quite a bit of difference at the moment.
Why does the color go away while you're doing that?
Pardon?
Why does the color go away while you're doing that?
This is a striking glass. I like to think it's a little bit of magic. But the glass, when it heats up, naturally turns kind of that bright orangey color. But this one, because it's a striking color, loses its color. And then you'll see it change later on. So I'm going to puff into it for just a little bit. That helps me keep my desired shape. And what I'm doing is melting all these little individual dots that I put on here. I'm melting them in so that it becomes one piece of glass. And I'm also heating this up to shape it at the same time. So this is melting in for one piece of glass.
So what's your clue that it's ready to be blown?
Well, I can see that, most of the dots are flat. Sometimes I make them all flat, sometimes I leave a few of them raised. And I just try to get a pretty even heat on everything. Sometimes when I'm talking, I don't get the most even heat, but we'll see. So now I'm ready to blow this. So this is always the Kodak moment. So people ask me what I've been doing all day. I say blowing bubbles. Yes. So you'll see that it's a really pretty red ornament, right? Okay, well maybe it's not so red. So if everybody says abracadabra, abracadabra. Very good. And I think it's the abracadabra that makes it turn back red. It might be the fact that, I give it a little chance to cool and then reheat. But it's kind of fun that way.
So you don't get a lot of heat transfer to the end of the glass rod?
No, glass doesn't transfer heat very well.
Okay.
I don't know if you remember, there used to be insulators, glass insulators on the top of telephone poles, because glass doesn't transfer the heat very well, or electricity if it's not hot. I got one tool. Let me see if it's down here. Here's this one. I've always left it back at the studio. Always leave your most important tool back at the studio. That's always helpful, I find. Yep, that's okay. I'll use something else. So, anyway, so now I'm going to make the hook on the ornament. What I generally use for this is something that looks like a giant pencil, and it is often confused with my pieces of glass. So, I'm going to heat this up and pull on it just a little bit. And this is the solid part now. And so this is what I turn into the hook. When I'm demonstrating for little kids, I remind them, ask them if they know who Captain Hook is. So it's a lot of fun. I do demos for all different kinds of age groups. So it's kind of fun. This isn't what the tool I normally use, but this will work pretty nice.
So if you have a group that wants a demonstration, what's the minimum number of people?
One.
See, I asked because all my in-laws come in at Christmas time, and I'm feeling we could do some serious business here.
Yeah.
Well, this would give them something to do because they would love this.
Yeah, I demonstrate for people all the time. If you've got a group coming over, you might just want to give a call, because once in a while I have to be out, or I'm at a show or something like that. So I kind of recommend calling just to be sure I'm there. Otherwise you might get some of my students. They're demoing or working. They're a little more shy than I am, but sometimes you'll see some of them. But just maybe give a call or tell us you want to bring a group over or something, and we're happy to do that. So we don't charge anything for the demos. So that's the kind of a nice thing. We hope that people, if they like it, they'll buy something. But
I'm feeling.
so there's the animals.
Oh man.
Yeah, you can get within about an inch. Now, hot, you can't touch it. I'm holding in the only spot that's not hot. It's hot here. It's hot here.
Oh wow.
So we'll let this cool off, and then you can touch it. It'll take just a few minutes for it to cool off there.
So cool.
Yeah, a lot of people like to grab it, so we'll just let it cool off right there a second.